Who's the best TUR? How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan Battle video. In today's video, we are taking a look at the TURs in Dokkan Battle as of December 2023. Many of you guys have been asking ever so kindly that we put out a tier list, and well, I have been a bit apprehensive at first to do this. I'm so happy that you guys have pushed me to do this. I've been having a lot of fun putting this list together, and you guys have mentioned that you did want to see the TUR list, so here we are. To add to that, obviously we are doing this because we are participating in the 2023 Dokkan Awards with our good friend Greg. This will be coming up at the end of the month, and we'll be awarding several different awards for different categories for units released this year, right? We'll have things like the most valuable unit, the biggest letdown of the year, or the best TUR of the year. So that obviously brings us to today's video. Since we will have a category for the best TUR, I figured it was good to put out a tier list for the TURs I think make it to the top 10, so you can have an idea of where I'm coming from when I make my nomination here at the end of the month. Now, let's waste no further time. Let's hop into number 10. When we assess these units, guys, we always go for three things that we look at. We look at viability, versatility, and consistency. Is the unit viable in all current content? Is the unit versatile? Does he have different setups? Does he have different partners? What all can they do in different situations, right? And then finally, consistency. What is the unit's function? Does it do it? Does it do it well? And does it do it consistently? Those are the things we look at when we place TUR. So when we're talking about TURs, we are talking specifically Dokkan Fest TURs, with one exception. I will include the Heroes units in this list because this is the first year where they are rivaling TURs in power, Dokkan Fest TURs. So we will be including them here in this list. Now, as always, before we hop in, this is my list. This is my top 10 based on my experience and my assessment and my analysis with these units. Feel free to disagree. If you do, let me know in the comments down below, and let me know what is your list and why are you ranking your units as such. Would love to hear it. I love engaging in these productive conversations with you guys in the comments, so please let me know in the comments down below. So let's go ahead, let's jump in. Number 10. I actually had a really tough time placing this one, but the more and more I thought about it, the more I feel like this is the appropriate response for the number 10 TUR released within, I'm gonna extend it as far back as 7th anniversary. I think that's a fair place to look. So number 10 TUR honestly is probably the androids, and I had a tough time putting them there because I really wanted to put them higher. They have a crazy support. They're doing so much, right? They are pretty versatile. They have a lot that they can do, as long as you can throw a Goku near them, right? That's literally all they need. They are pretty viable, or they are pretty versatile. They are pretty consistent. Where they fall short is in viability, right? That need for a Goku really holds them back. They also are held back by the fact that many of the newer stages do have AoEs. And now I don't like using Fusion Zama's AoE against units because that's a turn 1 AoE, and really, unless you have an entire team of slot 1 units, it basically invalidates every unit. They have problems with Omega and Sen because they AoE, so like it's a bit harder to justify because they have no innate build that allows them to hold their own in those later fights, right? It's not just a turn 1 for them that they suffer. But I mean, their support is great. Their active skill that can be used a bunch of times, really, really great. However, due to the limited team that they have, right, it just Reps of Universe 7, Universal Survival Saga still needs a whole lot more before we can move these guys higher, I think. So that's number 10. Number 9. This was another tough one because initially I wanted to keep these two units together. However, I do think one has he's seen a lot less play just because he's not doing enough for the team as his counterpart, and that is the AGL Gamma 2. He's still good. He's still enough to be in the top 10, I think. However, he does suffer a bit in the fact that, again, like the androids, all of his defense is post super. He's versatile. He can run on superheroes. He can run on androids. He can run on, special pose, right? He is key for many of the events that is required for. However, right, he wants to be near other gammas, and he wants to be attacking in slot 2 or slot 3, which can be detrimental in these later fights. That isn't to say that he's not doing what he does well, right? He's still viable. He's gonna get you through these fights, but you're gonna have to baby him a little, which can cause some problems, right? So I couldn't put him higher than 9 for that reason. Now, I don't believe I mentioned it yet, but I am not including EZAs on this list because, as we mentioned before, EZAs are a separate category. Now, for number 8, I am placing Fizz Turles. This guy is really, really good. He was a great release this year. He's viable in all current content, AoE regardless. Him being Fizz definitely helps him with the first phase of this Moss fight. He is versatile. A Pure Saiyan's leader skill gives him a lot of options, right? Gives him access to things like the GT Duo to help to give his team revive. He has access to LR Cooler, Piccolo. He's got so much going for him that it makes him really, really good. So he's also consistent. He does what he does pretty well, right? He's more often than not launching additionals. I think the biggest holdback for me for him is that locked condition behind the Goku's family enemy, right? That's extra support. It's just that little extra I think he needed to push himself more, because otherwise he's not really in of himself providing all that much to the team, especially when you consider the other high damage dealers that are on his team. So that's the only reason I couldn't move him higher. Like, that simple condition, while it's not that big of one, I think it does hold him back a tad. Moving on, other TURs released recently. Where is he? Yamcha, actually, I would place up here as well. Yamcha, I would place in number 7. I'm having a lot easier time doing singletons here with this top 10 list over TURs than of LRs. I'm noticing that simply because the LRs tend to have a lot more staying power than the TURs are. Yamcha, I honestly could place a little higher, but you'll kind of see why I don't as we move forward. Yamcha does a lot. He's a great slot 1 unit, provided you proc his dodge, right? A decent dodge crit build does wonders for him, right? giving him that little bit of extra dodge, and then giving him that extra beefiness to take down enemies quicker and faster. And he's also a great partner for the likes of like LR Ultimate Gohan, right? Like he's doing a lot. He can hit some pretty big numbers. He's viable in all current content with that dodge, with those additionals that he's doing. There's nary a boss he can't take down. He is consistent for the most part, right? Provided you get your dodges, he's doing what he needs to do. He falls short in those instances where he doesn't, right? If he doesn't dodge, you're losing, right? And that's kind of why I can't put him much higher. However, I put him higher than some of these others because his reward is much greater than his risk, in my opinion. And versatility, that's the other thing that's holding him back any higher than me. He's not as versatile as some of these others. Well, I mean, in fact, pretty much everybody 6 and below, that is their main drawback, is they aren't as versatile as I mentioned before, right? Turles being one exception, and that's simply because his leader skill. But he has very specific units he wants to be around. Yamcha does, and that's kind of what really holds him back, right? There's only so many units that share the links he needs to make him work efficiently. Okay, so moving on to number 6. Now, when we get to like 4, 5, and 6, I actually had a really hard time stratifying these because there's just so much going on here. But if I had to put one unit, it's probably Super Trunks. Like, I know what you're thinking. But Celtic, he has a 50% chance to guard. Well, guess what? Yamcha has a 50% into a 60% chance to dodge. It's not that much different, right? World Tournament Goku, 50% chance to dodge, right? The difference between, I think that the difference Trunks has in all of these, yes, that 50% chance to guard sucks, and it can hurt you. But in the instances it doesn't, and you get where you need to get, right? You get him to his transformation turn, the reward is far higher than any of these other characters, right? I mean, you may be noticing a pattern with my 6 to 10 here. They're all here because their payoff is pretty great, in order of greatest payoff to least, right? However, they do suffer in the area of consistency, right? However, Super Trunks a little more. Honestly, you know what? I actually might drop this. I might drop Yamcha above Trunks, if only because Trunks' consistency is that 50%, it can hurt you a lot more than Yamcha's, as well as his versatility. Trunks' versatility is a little. He needs Android Cell Saga. Yamcha can work around anyone. He might not work as well, but he can work. Trunks doesn't work without Android Cell Saga units. So, you know what? I'm going to move Trunks and put them there. But everything else still applies. Moving on, though, to number 5. Number 5 TUR released this year. Or not even this year, but within the last year, is Gamma 1. This dude is versatile. This dude is viable. This dude is consistent, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, pretty darn necessary for a lot of teams. And for that reason, I'm putting him 5 because to me, he's right in the middle. He's everything you need to kind of glue a team together. He provides that extra bit of slot 1 where you need it. The unit might suffer in links if they need it. However, I don't think that I don't think he's any higher than that personally. In terms of versatility, like I said, he can slot in any team whatsoever. Consistency, he is probably the most consistent unit I've put up here so far, right? He's got his guard, he's building his He's building his defense. He's doing a whole lot of stuff that can protect him, and he's doing it pretty darn consistently. Moving on up, I've actually got a couple lined up for number 4. So let's start with the Super Saiyan 3 Rose. I know this is kind of crazy, but I know I was soured on him at first, but the more and more I use him, the more and more I like him and can comfortably put him here in the number 4 slot, next to a few other units, of course, right? So for number 4, we have the Super Saiyan 3 Rose. He is viable in all current content. He is as versatile as a hero's unit can be. He's definitely a little more versatile than the Vegito and the other heroes units are, but I mean, it's not that hard to have a crossover unit on the team with him, right? He works very well on Fusion Samasa's team without much help. Speaking of crossover units, honestly, the more and more I use the 21, I would probably rank her exactly here next to the Rose. She's doing a lot. She's providing something for her team that is just so necessary. I don't think we talk enough about how important a heal is. We all recognize the importance of a revive, all right, but how many units can heal us, right? That is just an ever so important skill. Now, it is locked behind turn 5, but then again, so is Rose's transformation, right? So, I mean, realistically, getting to that turn 5 isn't that difficult, and when you do, the reward is great. In a unit that is not only protecting herself with multiple supers, damage reduction, but she's healing you. She gets a big heal on her transformation and then continues to heal you the more she supers. And I think it's very, very useful in some of these bigger fights, right? A 5% on a 600 or 700k HP team is a lot to be healed back per super, right? So that is the reason why I put her there. Moving on up to number 3, TUR. I'm going to go ahead and grab, where is he? Yeah, okay, these guys here. Okay. Gohan and Piccolo. Gohan and Piccolo are amazing, right? They are really, really good. They are the definition of risk reward. Gohan is, I mean, his the revive turn is probably the most powerful, most unkillable turn you're ever gonna have in a unit, and I think it's really worth it. And I think building a team around making that possible is not very difficult, and it's pretty consistent to pull off. So honestly, I would definitely, and then, you know, them being a Bond Master Disciple helps. It's such a great team. So definitely putting them up there for that. Next to them, though, I actually have another unit I kind of have tied with them for number 3, if I can find them here. Where is it? Goku, right here. The Kid Goku. Kid Goku still has a lot of use to me. He has yet to fail me in any major content. The orb changing, the damage reduction he provides, and, you know, multiple supers in slot 3, provided you get the rainbow orbs, right? He's protecting himself. He's doing a lot for the team that I don't think should go unnoticed. He's still very, very good, and I keep him above a lot of these other units for what he's providing to the team. I think what he provides to the team outweighs everything else that these guys are doing, right? A unit that can provide not only orb changing, which is always big, but a unit that can provide damage reduction to the team, however small it is huge, right? On units with you know, sometimes units just need that little extra to push them over what they need to tank a hit really well, and Goku being able to do that is really, really helpful. So that's why I have them there. Now for number 2, this one was really difficult. Number 2, I had a really, really tough time placing, more so than any of the others, right? As we get into number 1 and number 2, like, it becomes harder and harder, in my opinion. However, I do think that one of the number 2 Dokkan Fest TURs to have released this year is actually a tie for 2 units. World Tournament Goku, and of course his counterpart that everybody loves to argue over, God Goku. To be completely honest, I place these 2 units right next to each other. They are just so useful. Everything they do, they both have amazing leader skills. Pure Saiyans, Earthbred fighters. God Goku having the additional Hybrid Saiyans is also really great. But I mean, Pure Saiyans, Hybrid Saiyans, Earthbred fighters, they're all great leader skills. Goku having powerful comeback gives him access to the GT duo. God Goku already has access to the GT duo, right? Both are building defense. God Goku building it through stacking and is able to do so even greater with his orbs. World Tournament Goku doing it through being hit while having guard. It's just amazing, right? It's so powerful. World Tournament Goku gets a little scary after turn 1 when you maybe don't have his passive up, right? And you're relying on that 50% chance to guard. But when running him, I mean, you're almost always playing to the revive, whether it's using Metal Cooler, Bird Coup, the GT duo. You're almost always playing to that revive to get him up and get him out to do what he needs to do just that much quicker. So it's beautiful what he's doing, and he's doing it pretty darn consistently too. Both of these units are very consistent in what they do. It is not difficult to get the 6 orbs you need with him changing his own orbs, right, for God Goku, to get his guard up and to get the additional supers, to get him to stack his attack and defense that much quicker. To add on to that, his dodge makes him untouchable. They're the perfect counterparts to each other, and I can't really place one over the other. I think they perfectly complement each other. And realistically, you can run them both on the same team, on either of each other's team, and they will work out just fine, right? So that is the nice thing about these 2 units. Now, number 1. This was not difficult to place at all. In fact, honestly, you can make an argument for either one of the top 1 and 2 TURs as above the other. So I went ahead and put them both together, and it should come as no surprise. Ma Jr. will stand tall above all of the rest here as the number 1 TUR, but he is not alone because the Dragon Ball Heroes celebration went ahead and gave us something we've all been craving: Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, right? These 2 units are just phenomenal. They peak incredibly high. Like, I don't think anyone expected Limit Breaker 4 Vegito to come out as powerful as he was, as quickly as he is, and it's just kind of insane. He's viable in all current content, as is Ma Jr. Ma Jr. struggles a little with Zamasa's AoE, but then again, who doesn't? You survive that AoE attack, and he is literally obliterating that phase for you, provided he gets an extra super. In fact, right, the AoE actually benefits him because while being in slot 2, if he takes that AoE, you can then proc his extra super. So now he's got his additional buff for being hit and being in slot 2 or 3. So, I mean, it honestly kind of benefits him, right? And then to add on to that, having giant form, it makes him viable in all current content. Vegito, all current content can be cleared before his passive runs out, and should it run out and you don't have his guard anymore, guess what? You've probably got his active skill up, and now you don't have to worry anymore, right? He will just decimate whatever's in front of him with that active skill. To add on to that, they are both very, very versatile. Piccolo, you can, if there's a team you can slot him in that he's on that leader skill, you can put them there and he will do what he needs to do and still somehow throw out 12 million supers. Like, it's just kind of insane. Vegito, same thing. If there's a team you can run him on, while he wants to have Dragon Ball Heroes, that is simply to be able to activate his active skill early. He can run on a full monkey team, right? We've done it before without pure Dragon Ball Heroes next to him. and be just fine, right? As long as you've got at least one other on the team, he will work fine. So it's not that hard to pull off what he needs to make him consistent everywhere and versatile everywhere. So these two, they are just probably the peak of TURs we have seen in a long time, and I think it's going to be hard to top them. Like, if these two are the top, I shudder to think what comes next in 2024, right? Whatever tops Piccolo and Vegito here is going to be insane. So, guys, that is my tier list. If you like the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And in the comments down below, let me know, what do you guys think of the tier list? And if you have any agreements or disagreements, let me know in the comments down below. If you've got a different list, let me know. What is that list? Again, this is just my opinion, my thoughts on how to build the TUR tier list. I know it seems kind of crazy, but I feel like my justifications are pretty there for these units. Honestly, with any of the characters within 3 to 6, I could see you moving around. You could even drop the likes of 21 maybe down 1 or 2 notches, but I can't underestimate her heal. That's the reason I put her up so high, to be completely honest. So anyways, guys, if nothing else, thanks for watching, and aloha.